first day with the session, Social Media Investigation to Solve Gang-Related Homicide, led by Inspector Joseph Courtesis. Inspector Joseph retired after 27 years of service from the NYPD. He's a former commander of the Central Investigations Division and the Real-Time Crime Center. Inspector Joseph provided technical assistance in hundreds of high-profile investigations and is recognized as an SME with investigative technology, social media investigations, and facial recognition.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be in Dubai. I never thought in a million years I would have the opportunity to be in this beautiful country, and thank you for inviting me to speak. I am going to talk about an important topic, using investigative technology to solve crimes, and specifically in the Real-Time Crime Center. But I'm going to focus specifically on crimes where you can leverage intelligence from social media, and using a tool that we leveraged in the NYPD during my tenure. First, I just want to give a quick disclaimer that the presentation refers indirectly to some real cases that have been prosecuted, so you may see some images that are blurred. They are intentionally blurred. If the image is not blurred, that means the image was publicly available for view. But I'll start off just giving a brief explanation about the Real-Time Crime Center and how it started. We started the Real-Time Crime Center, I believe, in around 2006. And at that particular time, the main objective was to lend investigative support to our investigative teams. The actual center morphed out and became a whole lot more offering to the job, where we weren't just doing investigative support with digital evidence. We were leveraging, or we were doing serious data mining, mapping, link analysis, and even facial recognition. What we were doing is we were lending technical assistance to active investigations, and these were very serious investigations, major incidents like homicides or shooting incidents. And what we found, what our analysis actually concluded, was that most of these incidents, these violent incidents, had a nexus to a gang activity. So getting information on those gangs would help us with a precision policing approach where we can try to predict that retaliatory act that's likely to occur. How did we do this? We did this by leveraging multiple data sources. We started with the data source we had available to us as our own crime data warehouse, our own information that we had in our system. We then extended out to external law enforcement databases. If we had reason to believe that the suspect may have come from another community or another jurisdiction or another police department or state, we would gain access to those databases as well. If we couldn't find you there, we would look for you in public databases. But what we found, that every one of our investigations really benefited from looking into a subject or a victim's social media account. We started off by just looking into social media the best way we could, and then we started leveraging tools like a tool offered by Voyager Labs, which became a game changer for us, and really understanding what was going on in that particular investigation. So, that being said, when we started using this tool, it became obvious to us that every investigation is going to benefit from looking into these social media profiles. So we actually had to create a separate unit within the Real-Time Crime Center, and we called it our Social Media Analysis Research Team, called it our SMART team. And I had given them 3 core competencies. I had 27 people assigned to that unit. Their first core competency was intelligence collection. And this is right at the beginning stages of an investigation. Sometimes you don't have very much information at this point. All you may have is the victim's name. You may have a phone number from the 911 call that came in, and you may have an address or a location, or you're going to have an address or location where the incident occurred. And that's all the data you have, and you start from there. But we would use this tool, and we would collect information on that victim, open source information that could be taken down at a later time, but we would collect it right at this point using this Voyager Labs tool. And you'll see the value of that in some upcoming slides. But the immediate value of it was we would find out if they were affiliated to a gang, because typically they would brag about it on their social media files. We would find out what the hierarchy of that gang was. We would even find out the geographical territorial claims that they have in the respective communities. And then we would map that out in our internal databases. So we knew if a shooting occurred at a certain location, that's this gang's territory or that gang's territory. Other information was great. They would post online, open source, whether they were going to have a party or a big event. And you can see this post right here. It says the YGs are going to have a party. YGs is a very violent gang. And if the YGs are going to have a party, it's very possible that there's going to be violence occurring at this, particularly that they're advertising it on social media, so rival gangs are going to know. And there's a potential that we could have a shooting at this location. So once again, this is our precision policing approach to kind of getting in front of an incident that clearly has the potential to produce violence. We would notify the precinct commander, and the precinct commander would deploy resources to the location prior to the event and possibly even stop the event from happening. But that was their first core competency, was intelligence collection. Their second core competency was supporting criminal investigations. I talk about this case a lot because it hits home to most of the people in the audience, because a lot of people my age and the age in the room here have children. This is an image of a 15-year-old girl who got into a fight at school. She's fighting another girl at school, and another person jumps in and slashes her from her forehead to her chin with a razor blade. When my uniformed officers respond to the scene, she is highly uncooperative. She's not even willing to give us her name at this particular point. And she basically tells us she's got this, and she doesn't want to get the police involved. Well, we're not going to walk away from this because we know this is not going to be over. She's clearly telling us this is not going to be over. We need to find out more what's going on here. And how did we do it? We assigned this case to our social media team, and they got her name from the school, and with her name, they were able to find her social media account, and she posted this selfie of herself before she was even released from the hospital. And in that selfie, she was nice enough to tell us exactly what happened. She said she got into a fight with one girl, and another girl jumped in and slashed her face, and she named the girl in her post. Once we had the name of the other girl and her tag or her URL, we were able to find the suspect's social media profile. And in the suspect's social media profile, she didn't only admit to the crime, she basically said, the next time I see you, I'm going to do the other side of your face. So now we knew who the perpetrator was, we knew who the victim was, we knew what the beef was about, we were able to get the school involved, we were able to get the parents involved, and we were able to kind of stop that retaliatory act from happening. And this is really was our plan on how we approach reducing crime, is getting in front of it. The social media team's third core competency was strengthening prosecutions. And this is really one of the strongest components of this tool, is their ability to, they have a warrant reader as part of their tool, in their tool belt here. So in this particular case, before I get into it, this is a case where we actually had to get a search warrant for non-open source information. And if anybody here has ever done a Facebook search warrant, you'll know that you can get hundreds of thousands of pages of information, and it's not going to come chronologically in order. It's going to be a haystack of unreadable and undigestible information. Well, Voyager Labs warrant reader will sort all of that information out. So let me walk you through this case real quick. This young man right here gets shot at 16 times at 1:45 in the morning. How do I know he got shot at 16 times? Because we counted 16 shell casings. However, the perpetrator missed them all 16 times. We wound up getting some intelligence that this perpetrator shot and killed somebody in retaliation for that. So we did a search warrant for his social media, And remember I said he got shot at 1:45 in the morning. At 1:49, 4 minutes after he's shot at, he's on social media asking for a Ruger and a .38 as soon as possible. His friend says, "What happened?" He says, "2 guys tried to clip me." His friend says, "Who?" And when you read down, he actually names the 2 people that tried to clip him, and one of them was the homicide victim. So he went from being a victim of an attempted homicide to the main suspect in a retaliatory homicide. And thanks to the warrant reader, we were able to make sense out of all of this. I'm just going to go over one more case. This is a homicide of a young man in the Bronx. He's a 15-year-old kid. He was a NYPD explorer. He was a good kid from a tough neighborhood. He is walking down the street in his neighborhood, and he gets mistakenly identified as a rival gang member to a violent gang in that community. And they start chasing him. And he runs into this bodega. I have a video of this, but I wouldn't even show it to you because it's that horrible to watch. He runs into this grocery store, and he tries to hide behind the counter of the grocery store. When he does that, the 14 gang members come into the store, and you see it on video. They see him behind the counter. They drag him out on video, and all 14 of them start stabbing him and slashing him with knives and machetes. And then you watch him with a mortal wound to his neck, trying to get help, and then as he's crossing the street, he collapses and dies right there on camera. Very, very hard to watch, very hard to even talk about. Well, needless to say, this incident became a really big incident immediately. In fact, it became a national incident in the States. It was all over social media. I sent a team out to the location to start harvesting images from the video surveillance system at that particular bodega. These were the first 3 pictures that we were able to pick up, and as we were still trying to get more of them. So we're using multiple investigative technology tools right now to try to solve this case. We start off using a facial recognition algorithm. We want to see if we can get facial recognition to at least identify one of them. And when we do that, we get a tentative ID on this guy with the Arizona Diamondbacks baseball cap on. Now, those of you who use facial recognition in law enforcement know that it's not an identifiable biometric, and I cannot use that to arrest somebody in the States. But I can use it as a starting point in a lead. So now I have a lead on this particular individual. I don't necessarily know it's him or not, but then my team starts using the Voyager tool to find out what do we know about this subject on social media. And what we find is this is his social media universe. He has about 2,000 connections in social media. And if you take a look, this is actually quite unique. You'll see some nodes on here that have a name above them. When you see a node that has a name above it, that means that I have an investigation, or my team has an investigation on those people from a previous case. So not only am I liking this guy for this homicide, he's also potentially connected to 8 other investigations that we are working on. Problem is there's a lot of pressure on my team and myself to get all of these people identified right away. I don't have time to go through 2,000 nodes. So this particular tool has a very unique dial up and dial down strength indicator. So when we dialed the strength all the way up to say, who is this person's closest social media connections, it narrowed it down to 3. And when we narrowed it down to 3, we just quickly looked through the 3, and we had a tentative ID on this other individual with the White Sox baseball cap on. When we looked at this individual and we pulled him up in Voyager, we found out that he had close to 4,000 connections, a lot more. And when we tried doing the same thing with this, when we tried dialing up the strength indicator, he still had a couple of hundred very close connections. Did not have time to go to 100, so we asked the system, who does the guy with the White Sox baseball cap on and the guy with the Arizona cap have as friends in common? When we did that, we were able to find out that they had 47 people in common. Now, we could just hover over each one of these nodes and get their social media profile. As we're hovering over, we quickly identify the guy with the white shirt on. Now you can see where I'm going here. We asked the system, who do these people have who do all three of them have as friends in common? When we did that, we found out that they had this as friends in common either directly or indirectly. Going through all of these, within a little over 2 hours, we had all 14 subjects identified. Not only did we have them identified, we put them on this link analysis chart showing their mugshots of their previous arrests, and then linking those mugshots to the video surveillance camera showing the role that they played in that crime of the homicide of this young man. This is a very, very powerful tool, coupled with other investigative tools, turned out to get these guys ID'd, not only ID'd very quickly, but secure a conviction on 5 of them, for homicide. So those are the cases I'm talking about. I am out of time, so I don't think questions are going to come in. But if you do want to reach out to me, that is my email and my cell phone number. And in addition, if you wanted to learn more about Voyager Labs, Gary Miller is here from the company, and he's at the Trinesia booth at 6B22. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everyone.